for a gathering in Virginia, according to the Washington Post. Even top generals and their staffs do not know the reason for the meeting. Now, according to reports, the highly unusual directive was sent to virtually all of the military's top commanders across the globe. The directive was issued earlier this week as a government shutdown looms. Trump's administration had earlier announced plans to undertake a sweeping consolidation of top military commands. In fact, there are about 800 generals and admirals spread across the US and dozens of other countries and time zones. The unprecedented order applies to all senior officers with the rank of brigadier general or above, or their naval equivalent serving in command positions, and their top enlisted advisors as well. Typically, these are officers each who oversee hundreds or thousands of rank and file troops. The order also comes amidst confusion and alarm over recent changes at the Pentagon. In fact, even those overseeing troops in conflict zones are being pulled away from their commands. The move has left top officers baffled and worried at the same time, with some openly questioning the risk of yanking so many leaders off duty at the same time. Hegseth had earlier directed that the number of general officers be reduced by 20%, firing senior leaders without cause, and a high-profile order to rebrand the Defense Department as the Department of War. Even President Trump seemed uncertain when reporters questioned him about the meeting and whether he would be involved or not. He responded that he would attend if they want him there, and questioned why the matter was being treated as a major issue. The president also emphasized his identity as the president of what he said of peace. And at that point, Vice President J.D. Vance stepped in, noting that it was not particularly unusual for generals who report to the Secretary of War to meet with the Secretary himself. Vance downplayed the situation's importance, expressing surprise that it had become such a prominent news story.
Authority ceremony. Task Force Al-Assad is a joint...
But why is that such a big deal? I mean, the fact that we're getting along with the generals and admirals from all... Remember, I'm the president of peace. It's good to get along. It's good. You act like this is a bad thing. Isn't it nice that people are coming from all over the world to be with us?
It's not particularly unusual that generals who report to the Secretary of War and then to the President of the United States are coming to speak with the Secretary of War. It's actually not unusual at all, and I think it's odd that you guys have made it into such a big story.
Is it a big story? I mean,
I don't think it is, sir.
I would think it's but isn't it a good story? I mean, we're respected from all over the world as a military force.
And to discuss more on what exactly is this mystery meeting about, joining us live on the broadcast is Dr. Glenn Diesen. He's Professor of International Relations at University of Southeastern Norway. Mr. Diesen, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast here on WION. Getting straight to the heart of it, even as J.D. Vance says that there is nothing unusual per se, this is an unprecedented meeting of sorts that has been called in the same room at the same time of 800 military officials or even more. What do you make of this meeting that's been called by the Pentagon of military's top commanders from across the globe?
Well, I have to disagree with the Trump administration that there's nothing unusual about this, because, again, calling all these generals and admirals to the same meeting at the same time is quite unusual. Not telling them why, that is, what is the topic or the agenda, this is also unusual. And also this urgency. You could plan these things months in advance, as a lot of these military leaders already have very packed schedules and commitments. So the urgency is also quite unusual. So I think it's reasonable to ask, and I wouldn't dismiss this as being a non-story. I think, though, at the heart of it is the concern, which isn't unique to the Trump administration, but the idea that since World War II, the U.S. Army has become more and more bureaucratic. There's simply too many generals, too many high-ranking officers. It's almost become just out of the need for promotions as opposed to serving the security needs of the country. And I think this is consistent with what Hegseth, now referred to as the U.S. Secretary of War, has stated in the past. Back in May, he ordered a 20% reduction of 4-star generals and 10% personnel cut of all generals. He asked also for a 20% cut in the National Guard of the top jobs. So the main idea seems to be that they should have fewer leaders and top generals and an actual more fighting force capable of pursuing America's war goals. So I assume at least that this is the main topic. What all the secrecy is about and urgency, again, I can't really tell. It can be anything from attention grabbing, as this president does like the flair of a reality show, or it could be some problems coming up ahead with
Right.
everything from wars. So it's hard to say.
Yes, Mr. Dyson, that's exactly what I was coming to, talking about the layoffs, the firings we've seen in the last few months. The White House had earlier asked federal agencies to prepare for mass firings if there is a government shutdown. Your assessment of the possible government shutdown and the firings of numerous senior leaders this year, as you just mentioned?
Well, a lot of the army that over the past 30 years was built for the hegemonic era, the unipolar moment. So the US has bases all across the world. They have built out this huge bureaucracy. I think as the US must adjust to the multipolar world, that is, they are going to have to pull their forces out of some places. The whole mission will have to be rethought. So I think there's a good reason why there has to be a major shift and restructuring of the armed forces. So this is quite reasonable. And again, some of the urgency could also be due to the problems ahead. The US is likely facing a major economic crisis in the foreseeable future. There's likely a new war against Iran. The war in Ukraine is being lost. They're dumping this over on the Europeans. They predict conflict with China. So there's no shortage of problems ahead for the United States. And I think that they want to get some of this of their army back in order. But again, the problem is the fact that this is so urgent and everyone's being rushed back to the US, to Virginia, without any explanation. It makes everything very unclear, and one risks only speculating.
Yes, rightly put, Mr. Dyson, that there is ambiguity over this meet that's been called, and of course it is unprecedented in many ways. Appreciate you joining us on the broadcast.
My pleasure.